If you've played a Pokemon game any amount of time after beating the champion, there's a good chance you've heard someone online mention the concept of EV training. EV is short for effort value, and carefully training your Pokemon's effort values can dictate how that Pokemon's stats will grow following a level up. Game Freak has made significant advances in making EV training much more approachable in newer Pokemon games, but back when the concept was introduced in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, I think it was clear that the developers did not expect players to go out of their way to min-max Pokemon using this system. Things were just different in 2002, I guess. Nevertheless, there are still many Pokemon fans that play older generations frequently, be it for competitive battling, speedruns, or challenge runs, all of which are going to require you to be somewhat familiar with EV training. A popular challenge is the Ribbon Master Challenge, where you try and get every ribbon in the series history on a single Pokemon. That's the challenge I've decided to undertake with this shiny Eevee that I hatched on my livestream.
Oh, I was right, it is the one! Yeah, we did it!
One of the first ribbons a Pokemon can get is the Effort Ribbon, which is awarded to a Pokemon that has been fully EV trained. So let's go for this ribbon first, and I'll show you how EV training works in Generation 3, using Eevee as an example. Seems appropriate, right? From this point onward, however, I'll be referring to our shiny gray fox as Angelite, to avoid any confusion. Feel free to pause and rewatch sections of the video if you need. With that out of the way, let's begin! Let's start with the basics. Every Pokemon has the following stats: HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. Each of these stats have an invisible number tied to them. These invisible numbers are called effort values, or EVs for short. A newly caught or hatched Pokemon like Angelite will start with 0 EVs in every stat. EVs are earned when the Pokemon gains experience from a battle or consumes certain items like vitamins. The number of EVs earned and which stat they are applied to depends on what Pokemon you're battling against. For example, if Angelite knocked out a Corphish, it would be awarded 1 attack EV, whereas KOing a Torkoal would award 2 defense EVs. If you're unsure what EVs a Pokemon will give when it's knocked out, you can always look it up online, as EV yields from all Pokemon are very well documented. There are also held items and status conditions like the Macho Brace and Pokerus respectively that can boost the number of EVs you gain from a KO. A Pokemon can have no more than 510 total EVs across all stats, and each individual stat cannot earn more than 255 EVs. That's the gist of it. I'll leave a link to a guide from Maryland.com that goes into a bit more detail if you're curious. Of course, I'd be happy to answer any questions down in the comments as well. Now that we know what EVs are and how to earn them, the next step is determining what EV spread we're going to aim for. If you're new to EV training, I highly recommend looking up a spread for your Pokemon on Smogon.com. In fact, that's exactly what I did for Angelite. Smogon suggested EV spread for this Pokemon is 236 attack EVs, 36 defense EVs, and 236 speed EVs. Aiming for this EV spread will give Angelite the stats he needs to compete at the Battle Tower while also maxing out EVs to gain the Effort Ribbon, right? Well, sort of. Let's do some math real quick. 236 plus 36 plus 236 equals 508. While these 508 EVs are enough to get Angelite his competitive stats, the NPC at Slateport City will only award the Pokemon with the Effort Ribbon if they have all 510 EVs. Since it takes a total of 4 EVs to raise a stat by 1 point, it doesn't really matter what 2 EVs we get to reach the threshold. Okay, shake it off. I know that was probably a lot to absorb. Again, I encourage you to rewatch parts of the video if you aren't immediately getting it. Explaining it is all well and good, but let's actually do it and see what the process looks like in Pokemon Emerald. There are a few things I recommend you get in-game before you begin. First is the Macho Brace. You can get this from the Windstraits on Route 111. Second, you're going to want as many vitamins as you can get for whatever respective stat you're training. If you're playing Pokemon Emerald, you can duplicate items using the Battle Tower cloning glitch to basically have an infinite supply. If you're playing English Ruby and Sapphire, you'll have to put in a little extra work to get a lot of them, as there is no item duplication glitch in those games as far as I know. Lastly, this one is optional, but if you have a Pokemon with the Pokerus status, I recommend spreading it to the Pokemon you are EV training, as it'll make things go a bit faster. Let's quickly talk about vitamins. Vitamins are a consumable item that raises a Pokemon's EVs for a specific stat by 10. HP up for HP, protein for attack, iron for defense, calcium for special attack, zinc for special defense, and carbos for speed. Unlike later generations, your Pokemon are limited to only using 10 vitamins per stat. This means that with 10 proteins, you'll get 100 attack EVs. This can save a ton of time, which is why I recommend getting as many as you can. Okay, without further ado, here's a step-by-step guide on how I'll be EV training Angelite. When I EV train a Pokemon, I like to take it one step at a time, so we'll be starting with Angelite's attack stat. We're aiming for 236 attack EVs. I start by feeding Angelite 10 proteins to bring his attack EVs up to 100, meaning I only need to get 136 via battle. Then I equip the Macho Brace to Angelite and run from wild battles to spread Pokerus from some of my other Pokemon to Angelite. So let's tackle this first. What does the Macho Brace and Pokerus do? The Macho Brace is a held item that doubles the EVs earned from a battle. Let's go back to our Corphish example from earlier. Recall that Corphish awards 1 attack EV when KO'd. If Angelite KO'd a Corphish while holding the Macho Brace, he would instead be awarded 2 attack EVs. The neat part is that Pokerus has the same effect and stacks with the Macho Brace, meaning that with the Macho Brace and Pokerus, the Corphish will be awarding 4 attack EVs instead of just 1. This saves quite a bit of time and results in less Pokemon KOs needed for your desired stats. So with the Macho Brace equipped and Pokerus spread to Angelite, I use the Super Rod on Route 102 to fish for and KO 34 Corphish to get 236 attack EVs. Next up is the defense stat. We only need 36 EVs, so this won't take long. I feed Angelite 3 Irons to bring his defense EVs up to 30, meaning I only need 6 EVs from battles. We'll go to Team Magma's hideout in the Jagged Pass, as every Pokemon that spawns here gives defense EVs. Since I only need 6 and I don't want to overshoot, I remove the Macho Brace from Angelite and KO a Graveler for 4 defense EVs and then KO a Geodude for 2 defense EVs, which brings me to the target of 36 defense EVs. The last stat we need to train for Angelite is his speed stat. Angelite's speed stat will also have 236 EVs, so the process will be very similar to what we did for the attack stat. I feed Angelite 10 Carbos to bring him up to 100 speed EVs, and then KO 34 Wingles on Route 104 with the Macho Brace equipped, which puts us at 236 speed EVs. Remember though, that this EV spread only has us at 508 out of the 510 EVs needed for the effort ribbon. So to cross that threshold, I KO'd an additional Wingle to gain the last 2 EVs needed. I then went back to Slateport, talked to the NPC, and the effort ribbon is now ours and Angelite has the best stats he can have to boot. And there you have it. That's how you EV train in Generation 3. I hope you all found this guide helpful. I'll have some additional resources for you to reference in the description, and of course, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.